Anita Traci is a producer and songwriter who's made a name for herself by embracing the constantly evolving music industry. With her unique style, Anita blends together various genres ranging from house, D&B, garage, soul and tech house, and she's collaborated with a number of notable producers including Tom Hall, Crusada, Foxway Music and Fringe, and has been signed to renowned labels such as Warner Music, AWAL, PA74 Music and Orchard, and there's more to come in 2023 as Anita has some exciting new music and singles to announce. And Anita joins us now. How are you today?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Now, your latest release is called Tonight, and it's kind of an instrumental dancey tune, great for the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah. It's quite deep in melodic sense, and there's quite a lot of bass, so it's got quite a deep, I call it deep, dark atmosphere to it. But it's definitely a kind of weekend party vibe, yeah.
And what made you want to have it mainly an instrumental song? Because I notice not all your songs are like that.
Yeah, the slightly amusing side to that was that it did originally have a vocal, an actual vocal, but when I was getting it mixed down, it turned out that the vocal didn't actually work with the track. That didn't create the vibe and the atmosphere that I wanted with the track for it to be radio worthy. So I went back to the drawing board, so to speak, and I spoke to the mixer, who is called DJ Rodzilla, the producer and DJ that I worked with on the track. And he also kind of agreed and said, yeah, it sounds good on its own. Yeah. So what I'd done instead was I just put one little vocal hook on it, which is what you can hear.
And why did you decide to call the song Tonight? Was that in the original lyrics?
No, it's because I made the track at midnight. Hence Tonight. Yeah. So literally I made the track. I make most of my tracks at night, late at night, if I can't sleep or whatever. So majority of the track was made literally from say 11 p.m. onwards. So I thought, well, what's the most ironic thing I put as a title? Be Tonight.
Yes. So how did your kind of journey into music and music production begin for you?
I didn't originally do production. I've originally always been a songwriter and sort of collaborated in that sense with people. And the tracks that were released prior to my own tracks from 2020 were actually just me songwriting on them and backing vocals. My production journey actually started in 2020 during the original lockdown. Yeah. And I was just basically on my computer and I uploaded Ableton Live and just thought, okay, do you know what? A lot of the tracks that I'm doing, I would like to try and create something similar and kind of implement the different sounds that I like genre-wise as well, that I listen to, the elements of this. So I started a music production course, which I found on social media. I won't say which one. I found on social media, and I got a reply back to say, yeah. So I started a music production course, which lasted about a year and a half. And eventually I ended up learning from scratch how to create music, basically create production tracks. And that was where it sort of bounced off.
And this music production course, was it quite intense, or was it something that you could do kind of on the side, just if people would be interested in doing that if they've got the time?
To be fair, the DJs and producers, the ones that actually done the course for me, they actually do have production courses outside of the time that I done it anyway. I think they do one-to-one sessions as well. And I went into the studio to do mine because I prefer to have the face-to-face one-to-one tutoring because I learn better that way. But yeah, they still do it. It's actually quite easy. I'm not sure if I can plug them on here, but I will say the word Cruel Intentions, and that will give them a little hint as to where to find that. Yeah. But that's basically how I done it, and it was quite easy. Yeah, it was quite easy. They teach really well.
Now you've collaborated with some notable producers in the past, like Tom Hall, Crusada, Foxway Music, and Fringe. What have you learned from them?
Ooh. Interesting question. Interesting. I would say because of the level that they are in their production, obviously they're professionals. I would say I've learned from them how to be more creatively open, to be open to different genres in the beginning.
Yeah.
How to implement different ways of creating a track. Because I used to do melody line and lyrics and add that to a beat. But I also learned how to do it the opposite way around and how to find the different elements that go into a track. So not just simply hearing it, thinking, okay, I like that, boom, boom, boom. But the different sounds that make up the track, i.e. the hats, the keyboards, the synths, etc., and the bass line. And figuring out ways that they do, how they work, how they create their tracks, how their creative process works. And I learned quite a lot from that because they're all very different. All of the people I've worked with work very differently, which I actually really respected and liked because it taught me to open my mind quite a lot more.
Yeah. Do you find that you work completely differently to them as well? Like you have your own production, which is maybe a kind of combination of them all, or maybe even completely different?
Yeah. I definitely, it was an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener from the production course that I done. That the producer himself was very, very different in the way he went about his creative process. And I enjoyed watching how he created. He even let me see him, not a whole track, but he let me see him how he created one, like a couple of bars in, say 16 bars into a track. And I would watch how he done that. And it was interesting because every single person has their own way, their own method.
Yeah.
And mine's the same in the sense of how I put the melodies together with how they do theirs, how they get the keyboard melody line, the hook, as you call it, as people would hear. But yeah, I go about it quite differently.
How do you adapt to the way the music industry is changing? I know it's not been that long, but have you found that things have changed even in the short time that you've been doing music?
It's constantly changing. It's constantly changing. To be fair, I don't think there's ever been a time where it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Since my musical history goes as far back as I would say probably in the mid to late 1970s in the sort of music that I listened to. So those influences have quite rapidly evolved, should I say. They've quite rapidly evolved over the decades. So what I would listen to in, say, 1982 would be extremely different in the process of how you hear things, say, in 1992. So the genres are sort of merging together in little ways, and the sounds are it's ironic because there's a lot of synth sounds in tracks now, house tracks, in garage tracks, even in some reggae tracks, and a lot of dance music and chart music. They all seem to be slowly implementing the influence of 80s and 90s synth. And so it's really interesting, but yeah, it's constantly changing, but I embrace it. I love it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Do you think it might be because a lot of people who grew up in the 80s and 90s listening to synth music are now old enough to make music for themselves, so they're going to incorporate their influences into their stuff?
Yeah, probably, yeah. And also, I think tastes change over time as well.
Yeah.
Like the things, the bands, the artists I used to listen to, say, in my teen years, are similar to, not identical, but quite similar to what I listen to now. So, and yeah, it does influence you because your own life influences the things that you do as you get older. So I think a lot of the music now is influenced by, and how it's made is influenced by prior interests.
Well, you've got a lot of exciting things coming up this year, haven't you?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm not going to give too much away, but sorry, not going to do that. But I can say that there are two. I'm being careful what I say here. there are two releases. One's already coming. One's already been released actually. Just the other week, the other day actually, not the other week. And that was my one. And there's two more labels that I've signed tracks to. They are in the process of being released. released. So when I say in the process, I mean they're going to be released quite soon. I had that confirmed, so I'm really excited about that. And I have another 2 collaborations ready to release within the next month or so. And one of them, I'm not going to lie, I absolutely love it.
Wow.
Absolutely. The vocalist has definitely blessed my track.
Yeah, sounds exciting. And in the meantime, where are we able to find this latest release tonight and all your other music?
You can find Tonight on all digital platforms, except TrackSource. I'm not going to lie, because I couldn't get it onto there. You can find it on all of the Spotify. My Spotify is Anita Traci, and my SoundCloud is Anita Traci. In fact, most of my social media music platforms are under that name. But yeah, you can find it on there, and Apple Music, etc. Apple Music, Deezer, Spotify, Amazon. I'm not going to plug them all. And you can also find me social media wise, if I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah.
I'm on, my social media handle is neet, NEET / at the top S.T73. That's my social media, and you will find a lot of information on there as well as obviously my music that I've released.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great having you on.
You too. Thank you very much for having me.